If you've ever been struggling for single target on bosses at League Star, this is a build that's not going to have that problem. This is going to be an explosive trap guide, which is suddenly a very, very nice League Starter because we don't have the helmet enchant to worry about anymore. We now get the small explosions as part of the main gem, so as soon as you have 20 quality, you get that full effect. Let's list some pros and cons of the build to start off with. It has insane good damage, and what's so nice about it is you can pre-stack. You know how most of the bosses aren't like in effect until you go close to them. You can throw your traps down, then walk into them. So a lot of the bosses will actually just start with a chunk of health missing. It's got like really deterministic crafting for some of the in-game gear, like Lightning Coil, Taste of Hate are both farmable with divination cards. So that's actually a good thing that you can even get these on SSF. And it should be really, really strong in Sanctum. It wouldn't do something like a no-hit run, but at least like give so much single targets. So you're just slapping down some traps and things are dying. Another cool thing is you have 6 flexible gem slots, so you don't have a crazy amount of socket pressure, and you have so much flexibility whether you want to level gems or just put in different setups that we will recommend in the build. It's pretty tanky in the end game, but especially early game, you want to be a little bit scared of physical damage, so maybe don't get hit by Drox's Slam. You will die to that. And another downside is you will have mana issues early on. We do use a mana flask to compensate for this, but later on that is fixed, so don't worry about that. It is only an early game problem. So this is more of a boss focused build, so it's not going to have amazing clear speed, but if you're looking to kill bosses, amazing build for that, and it will work really well in SSF. If these builds help you have a great league start for Affliction, please consider subscribing. It does help the channel massively, and thank you so much. For leveling, we're using Stormblast Mine, and you want to stand inside your Orb of Storms while you're casting this, because that will proc the Orb of Storms when you're detonating. So you're getting more Orb of Storm procs, and your Stormblast Mine does lots of damage. At level 12, we are switching to Lightning Trap. We still have Lightning Trap here, but now we have Lightning Fire Trap for bosses, etc. Some people do like to throw in the other cooldown traps as well if you have extra space, like a Seismic, etc. But you don't need to bother with that. It is not a bad idea for more damage though, because they have a large cooldown. So we're using Path of Building as normal, and this time we have a 3.22 and a 3.23 PoB. Obviously, we already have the JSON, etc. posted from Path of Exile, but Path of Building itself is not updated. So we've just made it in both with like a thing that you can configure, but so that you don't have to do it, we have listed both a 3.22 and a 3.23, depending on the update is out by the time we upload. And Path of Building, we do have a video on how it works if you're unfamiliar with it, but you will need it, and it is very important for Path of Exile in general. As you see here at the bottom, we have our normal step-by-step leveling tree that makes it very easy to follow for new players, so that you don't worry about when to put skill points where. You can see that the Ascendancy points are included in the different trees, so you know exactly when you are getting them and swapping, etc. So it's very easy to follow. If we move over to the skill section, you can see that we have in different skill sets, we have the early leveling onto the end game, etc. And with items, we have early, mid game, end game, etc. And very important to see that we have a large amount of notes, and we're talking about potential things that could be happening in the league depending on some changes. But we also have Transfigured gems. We don't fully have all the information on that, so I just want to make sure that we're giving you guys good ways to start the league, but there will be so much cool information that we'll be discovering in the first 2 or 3 days that you might want to change things with, but having a good start to build up currency early is still going to be very important. So 2 things I want to explain from the skill tree. The only node that we really have to explain is Ghost Dance. The way this works is whenever you're hit, you lose a Ghost Shroud and you recover energy shield equal to your evasion rating. So because of that, we want to have a large amount of evasion, and eventually you might end up getting 2,000 or 3,000 energy shield every time you lose a Ghost Shroud. This is really good. And another thing is you can see early on we have 1 step ahead. This means that you can't be frozen, etc. So this is really nice for that. But later on, when we get freeze immune and action speed on our boots, we're going to be swapping the Ascendancy to Spellbreaker. Makes it even easier to get suppress capped. And as long as you have full energy shield, it'll prevent even more damage. So it makes you less likely to get one-shot by a spell. So if we look at the endgame version, this is really cool. So here we have Explosive Trap. And you can see that we have 7 gems. That's because you can swap Swift Assembly for Cluster Trap if you don't like that playstyle. But most veteran players you'll see be using Swift Assembly. Cluster Trap makes it a little bit easier with how it hits, etc. Curse setup here. So this is Assassin's Mark and Elemental Weakness. So you do want to use both of those on actual hard bosses. And then you can use Bear Trap for additional damage too. So there's quite a lot happening here. So if you don't like a lot of hotkeys, this build might not be for you, but it is an insanely strong boss killer. Here we have Shield Charge, faster attacks, and then Chaos and Damage taken with Immortal Call. The levels are important here. It's the required level of the skills that is the important part. Flame Dash, Grace, and Hatred. And now you can see here, everything below here can also be dropped and used for leveling gems instead. If you do want to level up a lot of gems and maybe try to transfigure them and sell them, etc., that is something this build can do a lot. We have so much free space. And there are also some new things, new items coming with for each open gem that you could maybe experiment with in this build because we have so many open. So this is an optional way to curse. So you can use Arcanist Brand instead for LA weakness. You can also have a level 1 aura, etc. Especially if you found a nice Watcher's Eye with precision damage or crit damage on precision, I think it does. But either way, if you find something, you can fit something extra there. You can have a more single target by adding in a Seismic Trap. That would be really nice, but we do already have so much damage on this build, so that's mostly for your initial burst as well. You can increase your clear by getting a lightning trap. Explosive Trap obviously doesn't have the best clear. You don't really have much of a pro lift or anything either. So early on, we're just trying to focus on like spell damage, physical spell skill gems, etc. And you can get physical spell skills as early as level 2. It's in fact very easy to roll with alterations, and a neat trick that once you start getting Essence of Woe and stuff, you could either use this on a level 2 Wand or a level 2 Scepter, and if you use a Deafening or Shrieking Essence of Woe, you still have a huge chance to hit +1 Chaos Gems, Fire Gems, and Physical Gems. So that's really good because, yeah, you lose 20-30 spell damage on your Implicit, but getting a 70 to 90 spell damage gem with +1 Fizz spells early is huge. So if you have essences, great way to craft early. So here for the early game, so easy to follow, just life and resists, and you do want the physical damage from hits taken as fire and lightning because we don't have a lot of endurance charges or physical damage reduced, etc. until the late game. In the mid game, we do want to switch to a lightning coil. It is a -60 lightning resist, so it can be a little bit tricky to hit. You will need a lot of resist on your gear at this point, but it is so nice. And the way lightning coil works and why things like taste to hit and lightning coil are so good is because when your physical damage, especially later on when you can get 100% of your physical damage taken as elemental, what that does is that you're no longer using armor, etc. And it is just your resistances. And that'll make, for example, if you're doing a boss, things like a Topaz Flask will become that much more strong. And it's just really good in general because you're probably going to have anywhere from 70 to 80 lightning resist, whereas your physical resistance, you will pretty much have nothing. And in the end game, pretty easy. We do get a Secrets of Suffering Scepter. This is from running Grand Heists. And then we want to get a +1 spell, +1 fizz. And here you can see a lot of the the endgame gear isn't actually too crazy. The only thing that will be a pain to get will be the scepter. And we do get over 7 million damage. It'll be really good for taking out the bosses. And you should be able to do Ubers on this, assuming that you are pretty good at dodging. You will not be able to face tank. And we're not getting 20 to 40 million damage either. You can see the budget isn't insane. I try to make sure for all our league starters that this is actually achievable. If we move over to the notes, here's like things like upsides and downsides, and every build does have downsides. Now, do remember, we do have loads of the T-gems coming. We have loads of things that we don't know. Like, we don't know all the tinctures yet. We don't know all of the socket ascendancies for the new Ascendancy. So a lot of things are going to change, but this is all the info we have so far, and I hope it helps you have a great league start. So pretty much everything here. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys have a great start to Affliction. Thanks so much for watching the video. Sub if you like it. Share it with your friends. More importantly, have a great league start, guys. Oh, and try to die less than I do.